Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel, and hello Monday morning. Alex Surf Beach here in the heart, the centre of the Sunshine Coast. One of the really truly great swimming beaches and surfing beaches here on the Sunshine Coast. It's a glorious Monday morning, and hey, let me show you a little bit of this fantastic part of the world. Come along with me on CoffeeChillTV. And folks, as you watch this video, a bit of a walk and talk, travel talk, video vlog on CoffeeChillTV. Hey, it's always free to subscribe, likes are for winners, and positive comments are most welcome. And so folks, yeah, there'll be a bit of background noise today. Surf's up. It's looking good out. There's quite a few surfers out there too. Today, my travel talk topic is solo travel and the power of one. And what inspired me to make this today's, our talking points will be centered around solo travel. Well, a little bit of inspiration coming from print, radio, TV, broadcast, and online podcast sources that I've sort of come into contact with over the last few weeks. As we stare back to the main drag, and look guys, here you've got skate parks, parklands, barbecues. You've got the famous Alex Surf Club, and guys, they do a fantastic chicken parmigiana, a palmy schnitzel, some of the best around at the Alex Surf Club. And on the other side of the road, guys, there's just too many bars and cafes to mention, and oodles and oodles of accommodation at various price points. In terms of inspiration for today's video, well, that's come from several sources: print, radio, TV, and online. Let me explain further. So first of all, print, the Sunday Mail. And over the last half a dozen weeks, every Sunday in the escape lift out section of the Sunday Mail, they've had this travel resume section where they interview artists and musicians and travel journalists and writers and photographers, even politicians, sports people, those who travel a lot. And that story, there was a question towards the end of the survey. It's about 20 questions. One of them was, name your favourite travel companion. Interesting question. Most of the people gave answers like my partner, my kids, siblings, best friend. Someone said their dog. Okay, but then there was one lady, I forget her name. She went out on a limb and she said, my favourite travel companion, it's me, yours truly, me, myself, and I, moi. Okay, bold choice. And you know what? If I'm being honest, my favourite travel companion, it's also me. I love flying solo. In addition to print radio, just driving around in the car, and I listen to a bit of AM radio. Get plenty of old school 60s and 70s. And Joan Armour Trading. Me, myself, I. What a great song. What a great artist, Joan Armour Trading. So I remember that song. When it first came out, I was like, I was about 13 years old, and I thought that's really interesting, because she says, I want to go to China and to see Japan. But she only wants to go by herself. And I thought, wow, I'd really never entertained that idea of solo travel. I was only young. The travel I did in those days were school trips and family holidays. Nothing solo about that. And a few weeks ago, I've got the cable TV, and I think it was old school R&B, cable music TV channel, and De La Soul, Me, Myself and I love that song. You know, a bit like Joan Armatrading's song, it extols the virtues of flying solo. And then finally online, it was about, it's probably 4 weeks ago, YouTube. Just watch it on the big screen on the TV, and this video came up on solo cruising. I've never been solo cruising. I was a little bit curious. I watched the vlog and it was quite good. And because I watched that video and I liked it, the algorithm kicked in and suggested videos have come into my YouTube feed, you know, the pros and cons of solo cruising, travel hacks for solo cruisers, the do's and don'ts of solo cruising. So, you know, all of these things, guys, they provided an impetus. So, hey, you know, let's jump in. You know my motivation. You know what kick-started the conversation for me today. And let me show you my perspectives on the topic of solo travel. And, hey, you know, at the end of this video, if you want to opine and give your angle, well, that would be lovely too. And so, you know, how did I start out on the journey towards solo travel? You know, I mentioned, you know, listening to Joan Armatrading, Me, Myself, I. That first planted the seed of, hey, you know, I could go on a significant trip on my own, you know, and I did. My first overseas trip, I flew out by myself. And I suppose frustration is the mother of invention. You know, I was trying to sell the idea to several of my mates. They were humming and hawing, and in the end, I just went and bought those tickets and went by myself. You know, sometimes solo travel, you know, other people are sort of humming and hawing. You really want to go somewhere, you can't convince others to join you. Hey, go on your own. Why not? And so, folks, you know, if we're talking about frustration, and sometimes necessity is also the mother of invention. You know, after that initial solo travel jaunt, I did kind of settle in to traveling in duos and trios and really enjoyed it, you know. And hey, in the interest of balance, traveling with extra people, you know, there are economies of scale. It can be cheaper, transport, accommodation, negotiating private drivers and excursions, splitting the bill when you have dinner and drinks. Hey, you know, there are plenty of benefits to travel by numbers. And there is a video in the pipeline on CoffeeChillTV where I explore, you know, travel companions, plural, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus, what's optimal. So that's coming up in the future. But today I just want to focus on solo travel. And, you know, this video, it's a bit of an advocacy piece, but I will get into some drawbacks in addition to the financial side, which is one big one, at the end of the vlog as well. And I'd be keen to open it up for comments too. So let's talk about a couple of real life travel, you know, events for yours truly, which started to swing the pendulum for me for making solo travel my default. I still travel in numbers, but the majority of my travel nowadays is solo. And here's a couple of stories that kind of, you know, sort of led me that way. So a couple of those quick travel stories, you know, which kind of swinging that pendulum towards solo. The first story, wow, when was this? It was in the 2000s, oh, actually 2010s, and traveling to Phuket with a travel companion. It was her first holiday to Thailand, and we flew with Singapore Airlines, Brisbane to Phuket. There was only a 45-minute transfer. You couldn't sit on your hands. You had to sort of get off one plane and go to another gate. Had to get a train at Changi Airport. And, you know, my friend, she was kind of just cruising. She doesn't smoke now, but she used to smoke, and she was out in the smokers lounge and having a chin wag, and I said, we need to keep moving. We've got to get to the next gate. We've got to get a new boarding pass, and I got a little bit frustrated. My speed was a little bit faster than hers. A mismatch. Another story was, different body clocks and operating rhythms. I was in Singapore this time, travelling with a mate, and we'd been travelling as a duo for a couple of weeks through Southeast Asia. We're coming to the end of our holiday. Last night, Singapore, off to Brisbane tomorrow. We were twin share in this hotel room, and look, it's no secret. Cheap hotel rooms in Singapore are not as bountiful as in some other parts of the planet. So we went twin share to save a few dollars. One of the benefits of travelling as a duo. But here's the thing, it was the last night in Singapore. I was bushed. We're sitting downstairs having a few Tiger Lagers. Fantastic house band. I said to my mate, I'm going to turn in, I'm bushed. And he said, yeah, look, I probably will too in about half an hour. So I went upstairs and I didn't go to sleep because I thought there's no use going to sleep, and then 20 minutes later my mate walks in, I wake up again. So I stayed awake. It's about an hour went past and he hadn't turned up, and so I went back downstairs and I said, can you let us know when you're going to come upstairs, because I won't start to try to go to sleep if you're going to come up shortly. He said, no, I'll finish up now, I'll come up now. I felt guilty. He's a night owl. I'm an early bird. When you travel by yourself, you can be the night owl. You can be the early bird. You've got your own body clock, your own schedule. If you want to have breakfast at 9 a.m, great. If you want breakfast at 6, more power to you. The power of one. So folks, as the wind picks up, I'm going to move. I'm going to head up this way. Let me take some footage and show you some of the visuals, the local sights and sounds, and we'll move up there. Move in that direction and continue the commentary on solo travel. But let me show you a little bit of the Alex Surf Club and more of Alex Beach and the parklands as I make my way to wherever it is I'm going to sit next. I don't mind wind effects, and hey, come on, the sound of the ocean, I find it quite soothing. How about you? So I'm sitting on a park bench, and here's the flags. Pretty narrow flags zone today, and unless you're a top flight surfer, if you're swimming, even for people like me, I used to swim competitively when I was a young fella, and I'm pretty good at body surfing. I swim between the flags. Every year in Australia, so many people come a cropper in the surf. A lot of them are tourists, a lot of them are visitors. They think, oh, just go and have a swim in the surf. There are rips, there are breaks on shallow ground. Hey, at the risk of sounding a little bit, patronising or condescending, swim between the flags. It's sage advice. So okay folks, solo travel. All that glitters is not gold. Let me explain further. So as I switch back to the dry block, the street side view, yeah, all that glitters is not gold when it comes to solo travel. I mentioned the economics at the start, swinging the pendulum towards travelling in numbers, but safety, security, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? It can be a downside. Also, shared memories, reminiscing. It's a bit more natural when you can actually reminisce with a person who was on your shoulder when you're going through those really great travel moments. Sometimes also the war stories are more fun when someone else was there battling with you. Also, travel companions, they can point out little things that you may have missed whilst you're in your own little world of solo travel. So, shared memories. Recent trip for me to Nong Khai. Woke up in the morning and there was a beautiful sunrise over the Mekong River. And yes, I took some pictures, straight to Instagram. Would have been nice though if I had a travel partner. And, we could have, said, oh, how good was that sunrise. I had memories many years earlier. Sunset, Kuta Beach, Bali with a mate. And we went and grabbed some, bintangs from a lady selling them on the beach out of the ice bucket. And when I see that guy, we still reminisce about the bintangs, sunset in Bali, Kuta Bali. So, reminiscing, it's better, isn't it, when there's someone else on your shoulder, at your side. Also, guys, when you're traveling solo, you miss things. Now, I remember traveling in Bangkok, Chaka Chak Park with a mate, and I was making a vlog. And there was a couple of times on that walk where he pointed out some stuff to me, flora and fauna and people. Well, I put them in my vlog. My vlog was all much better because I had somebody with me. And if I expand that further, travel vloggers in general, it seems to me that some of the most successful travel vloggers are duos. Okay, and for the audience, I suppose they get different personalities. Maybe there's a couple, a man and a woman, and half the punters who follow that channel, they sort of the bloke's their favourite, and for the other half it's the Sheila, and different perspectives, a man's angle, a woman's angle, whatever it is. So one of my friends said, oh, I should get myself a partner and my social media content would be improved. I said, yeah, okay, but nothing's for free, is it? Let's get back on topic. And we're talking about the online world and how YouTube vloggers that are couples, a lot of them are very successful. Having said that, there are plenty of lone wolves out there like yours truly, and a lot of those solo vloggers are doing a lot better than me. Okay, but if I had someone else with me, there would be technical support, moral support, that second set of eyes to just see things that I hadn't seen, and alternative perspectives. And so, folks, this morning, before I headed down here to Alexandra Headlands, Alex Surf Beach, I googled it up, the pros and cons of solo travel. And, you know, according to Google, you know, the pros, according to Google, you know, unparalleled freedom, easier immersion, easier socialisation. Now, immersion and socialisation, I'm going to put an asterisk on that. I'm going to come back to immersion and socialisation. Right on cue, the leaf blower man. A boost to confidence. Okay, yeah, you know, if you've successfully travelled solo, it does give you a little bit of, you know, internal confidence, and maybe it encourages, you know, new friendships as well. Even with the leaf blower man. So I mentioned an asterisk on immersion and socialisation. I've got an asterisk on that because, you know, according to Google search, easier socialisation, deeper cultural immersion. When you travel solo, that can be the case, but not always. So folks, there's some light rain telling me to wrap up this vlog. So I've just got a couple more points to make. Immersion and socialisation. You know what? It really depends. Just because you're travelling solo, it does not mean it's more easy to achieve cultural immersion and socialisation. A lot depends on you. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? You know, sometimes traveling with somebody else who's got better language, knowledge, abilities, maybe they're more of an extrovert than you. You know, the rising tide lifts all boats, and we're at the beach, so hey, slipstream. You can swim in the slipstream of others. Okay, so, you know, it isn't necessary that you have easier socialisation and deeper cultural immersion if you solo travel. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Well folks, that's a wrap. Solo travel. The power of one. Me, myself and I. What are your thoughts? Don't be afraid to share your perspectives on this topic of solo travel. If you wish to opine, please do so in the comments section. But either way folks, I'm so glad you made it to the end of the video, and I do look forward to seeing you again soon on CoffeeChillTV. Cheers for watching.